So,
Okay.
I just told me.
All right.
put in. So hello, everyone, and as we start, I would like to acknowledge that we join you today from the land of the Piscataway Kanoi, the Nacotchtank and Pamunkey peoples and their neighbors who have stewarded this land and surrounding waters for thousands of years, to which they are powerfully bound. I recognize the violent history of genocide and forced removal from this land and commit to working with Native people as partners and leaders in our fight for a future where the needs, the land, and the very survival of Native people, black people, brown people, are secured. May we center ourselves and our movement in that mission. We are here today because 4 years ago, a resolution sparked a revolution. We dared people to dream, to demonstrate, and to demand an economy that works for people and for our planet. The Green New Deal has become the blueprint for this movement, and the tenets of jobs, justice, and climate action are the rallying cry of a generation. In 2020, the Green New Deal movement made climate justice too big to ignore. In 2022, we held the line on no climate, no deal, refusing to back down until Congress passed the largest climate and clean energy package in American history. That package was included in the Inflation Reduction Act, and our work is now to make it the second largest package ever passed. We are here because our movement is building power once again to catapult climate justice to the top of the ballot in 2024. To get there, we have to deliver the Green New Deal victories that are embedded in the DNA of the IRA, especially to the frontline communities that dedicate themselves to this battle every single day. That's why today, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I are releasing a Green New Deal implementation guideline to show how the IRA and the bipartisan infrastructure law investments can and must be used to turn Green New Deal aims into Green New Deal action across our country. The Green New Deal gives us powerful tools for climate justice. Billions are in the IRA for wind, for solar, for electric vehicles, offshore wind, environmental justice. Together, we fought for those provisions and we won. And we're not done yet fighting for a livable future. Today, Congressman Ro Khanna and I are launching a Green New Deal for health. Our planet is sick. There are no emergency rooms for planets. So our healthcare system must be enhanced. It must be protected. This is a healthcare system that in many ways is just a sick care system. And we need to intervene to make sure that it is made better. 9 in 10 Americans live in counties that were harmed by a climate disaster in the past decade. 100 million Americans live in medical care deserts with no access to nearby health care. Healthcare workers are criminally overworked and underpaid. We don't have a shortage of healthcare workers. We have a shortage of workers willing to work in these conditions. If we want to protect them, we must do better to give them safe working conditions and fair pay. Our health providers are trying to heal patients, but the healthcare system is part of what makes them sick. The healthcare sector itself accounts for 8.5% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. The prescription is clear. We need a whole of government and a whole of health approach to the intersecting climate and health crises. We need investments in community health centers that provide care to everyone and center Black, Brown, Indigenous, disabled, and LGBTQ plus low-income and rural communities who are so often failed by our healthcare system. We need to help struggling hospitals to stay open. We need investments in green and resilient facilities so people have uninterrupted access to care before, during, and after a climate-fueled disaster. And at the heart of our healthcare system, we need to respect and to empower the workers who make high-quality healthcare possible for everyone. The Green New Deal for Health is our national treatment plan for a healthcare system that puts people and our planet before pollution and profits. For climate justice, for worker justice, for health justice, we must pass a Green New Deal for healthcare. And now I want to introduce my great friend and partner on the Green New Deal, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey, and it's just such a special day when we're able to come together and reintroduce our legislation. And every time we reintroduce the Green New Deal, we're always met with additional legislation to expand this vision and execute for environmental and social justice in all forms of policy, because the climate crisis touches all forms of policy and all forms of our life. I want to thank Senator Markey, the Climate Justice Alliance, the Indigenous Environmental Network, the Green New Deal Network, SEIU, the AFA, CWA, and New York Renews, as well as all those who are working at the local level to bring the Green New Deal to their communities. Just a few years ago, when we introduced the Green New Deal, we were told again and again, this is not realistic. This is unreasonable, that this is just a pie in the sky notion, right? But we said, watch us work. That's okay, watch us work. And as they say, as the adage goes, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then we win. And that, in a nutshell, is a big part of what we've experienced over the last couple of years. First, we were called unrealistic. Then, when it came time to the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, we started to fight. We said we are not going to take crumbs and we're not going to settle for that we need bold, big climate action, and we need it now. And that fight resulted in the largest piece of climate legislation in American history. In American history. That is because of the coalitions built that are not just supporting the Green New Deal, but supporting all climate action across a broad progressive spectrum. This coalition of grassroots people and everyday people deciding to make this a political priority is why we are getting the results that we're getting today. We said, watch us work. And we didn't stop with the Inflation Reduction Act. We decided to exploit and use every single avenue possible to make this vision a reality. What we saw was over 60 community project funds, over, I believe, $100 million, where we decided to organize, and members of Congress deployed community project funds to create over 60 Green New Deal projects launching nationwide starting just 1 or 2 years ago. This vision is becoming a reality. Watch us win. We have started to win. Together, we've introduced the Green New Deal for cities, the Green New Deal for public schools, and the Green New Deal for public housing, just to name a few. We have highlighted important issues ranging from education to renewable agriculture to show that a better way is possible. Together, these bills not only stop climate change, they tackle the intersecting crises of climate, economic inequality, and racial justice. These bills ensure that everyone has the opportunity to work a job where they earn enough to live while reducing our weight and tax on this planet. Those jobs will strengthen our infrastructure, including our school buildings and our public housing, so that children are no longer harmed by asbestos or lead paint. Under a Green New Deal, energy prices will be affordable and reliable, and no one will have to worry about having enough money to get to work or pay for heat. For frontline communities, instead of getting bulldozed by big fossil fuel corporations through land grabs and other aggressive tactics, we finally have a meaningful say in what happens in their communities. And this future should not be too much to hope for. In fact, we're already starting to make progress. And with the Inflation Reduction Act, with the investments that Senator Sanders and myself, as well as the full coalition, are releasing today, we are showing how we can use the dollars secured in the Inflation Reduction Act to make this a reality. The core tenets of the Green New Deal, which 4 years ago were considered unrealistic, have now made their way to being implemented in national legislation. So we're hoping that this guide will provide cities, states, tribes, nonprofits, businesses, and individuals with the tools to take full advantage of what is in here. And with that, I'm just so proud of this coalition, and I'm so excited. And I think we should unveil what's next with our Green New Deal for Health. And with that, I yield to our next speaker, Congressman Ro Khanna.
Yep, come on up, Ro.
Well, I'm so excited to be here with Senator Markey, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and all my colleagues. Senator Markey has many wise and great qualities, but one of his great insights is to know where the progressive energy is, which is in the House of Representatives, and to invite all of them and be a senator who has really partnered with progressives. And Representative Ocasio-Cortez, of course, who had the brainchild, was the author of initially the Green New Deal. I remember when she was coming to Congress, she was a star then, not a mega star, but a star even then, and how hard it was. The Sunrise Kids were in Speaker Pelosi's office. People were running away from anyone affiliated with the Green New Deal. We had to set up in our office a press conference, and we had Representative Ocasio-Cortez, but it was hard to get many other colleagues. I mean, Pramila was there, a few other folks were there. And now look at where it is. Now everyone wants to be part of it. And the reason I say that is because while progress is slow sometimes, progress has been made. And if you reflect at just how far we've come in those few years, it should give everyone hope for the future and what we can do together. I'm so honored to introduce the Green New Deal on health care with Senator Markey. And I just want to make one point about why this part of it should be obvious. There's one time in this country where we come together, Republicans and Democrats, about the role of government, and that is in a natural disaster. If you look at FDR in the New Deal and you see how he was justifying the role for government, all his speeches would say the Depression is actually like a natural disaster, because we have a consensus that when there are natural disasters, when there are storms, we need the government to act. And that's all the Green New Deal for Health is saying. It's saying we know that there have been wildfires in my state in California. We know there's been flooding in my state and other states. We know there have been storms. This is the time the government should act to make sure that healthcare facilities actually can help people when they have those climate disasters. You don't have to even understand all the climate science to say that people should have health care when you have climate adverse events. And that's all this is. Every person should be really for this bill. So I'm honored to introduce it. We've got so many great colleagues who are part of this, and I'm happy to yield now to the next speaker.
Beautiful. And that next speaker is the National Director of the Green New Deal Network, Kanyella Ng.
Thank you, Senator. Look, I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with our champions on the Hill, Senator Ed Markey and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and all of the forward-looking congressional co-sponsors and my movement siblings and forebearers to say that there is no better time for a Green New Deal. 4 years ago, our champions in Congress first introduced the Green New Deal resolution, which has ignited a massive grassroots movement and a series of newly enacted laws at every level of government. Grassroots leaders have organized thousands of Green New Deal related actions and events, mobilizing millions of people, young and wise, black, brown, white, to make the Inflation Reduction Act possible. That was Green New Deal Phase 1. Local leaders are now utilizing the IRA to electrify and solarize tens of thousands of buildings in cities like Phoenix, Las Vegas, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. Green New Deal activists and organizers have already pushed states like Minnesota and New York to set a course towards 100% clean energy. Unions have united with green groups, racial justice groups, native justice groups, care workers, and frontline environmental justice organizations to reimagine and realize a society of abundance. We are no longer letting the fossil fuel industry pit us against each other. We will build power together until we become unignorable to all elected officials. The IRA represents a down payment on a Green New Deal, but we have a moral imperative to invest at least $1 trillion a year towards climate justice. The Green New Deal Network and the movement will be organizing thousands of new leaders in every single state, delivering tangible benefits to marginalized communities, electing even more climate champions, and conducting millions of conversations to bring our communities together and win the world we deserve. The Green New Deal is a 10-year project, and phase 2 is about to begin. My 3-year-old sings a song that the more we get together, the happier we'll be. And it's true that the happiest cities have the most robust green infrastructure. People aren't isolated in suburbs, forced to spend half their days alone in carbon-emitting cars. And that's what this is about, bringing people together in our collective pursuit of happiness. A continued reliance on fossil fuels will be met with sacrifice and suffering. But a Green New Deal transformation unlocks job opportunities for working class people, unleashes innovation for entrepreneurs, and reanimates the essence of our humanity. Corporate polluters will pay for the pain they have caused, and communities hit first and worst by the climate crisis will be first in line to receive benefits and direct resources of large-scale investments in climate mitigation and adaptation. The Green New Deal is already being enacted in communities all over, and we will build the power to make it real everywhere. Gava mamua, gava mahope, aloha aina, maua mau. Our ancestors lived regeneratively and well, and we will do it again. Mahalo.
Beautiful. Beautiful job. Beautiful job. Next, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey. We are so grateful to you for your leadership in Congress. And while the Congressional Progressive Caucus is in the House, we have honorary members, and you are certainly an honorary member in the Senate. Representative Ocasio-Cortez, you have been amazing, inspiring, action, organizing, all the things that a movement needs to make progress. And we are so grateful to you for your leadership. And if you look at all the people who are here, all the members, they are all members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. So I always say that being a progressive just means you're the first to the best and most just idea, and then everyone else has to run to catch up with you. And I feel like that's what's happened here with the Green New Deal. I am very proud to be a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal for Health, of course, the Green New Deal resolution, all the Green New Deals that have been mentioned, bills that have been mentioned. I also am the proud sponsor of the Climate Resilience Workforce Act, which is also thinking about how we build these good union jobs for the rebuilding of our communities and put our most marginalized communities at the center of climate resilience planning. But I think the main thing I want to say today is the urgency is here. It has been here. We know that. And it isn't just in our cities and streets. In Seattle, the wildfires never used to be west of the mountains. They were always east of the mountains. And they certainly didn't start before August. Now they are in our communities. The flooding has affected our Duwamish River Coalition at the Duwamish River. And our streets are actually erupting from the heat. Our transmission lines, our electricity lines are melting. And all of that is at the core affecting our most vulnerable communities, our disproportionately poor Black, Brown, Indigenous brothers, sisters, and siblings. And it isn't just in the United States. They are looking to us all over the world. I just had the opportunity to come back from Indonesia and Vietnam, where the primary issue was climate and looking at sea level rise that will literally put islands and countries underwater. And they are saying to us, we have the same problems with coal lobbies and moneyed interests here in our country that you do in America, and we are looking for you to help us make this transition in the most just way. So I just want to say thank you to this entire coalition of labor allies, of nonprofit organizations, of inside-outside organizing to make sure that what we deliver is a just, decarbonized, and sustainable planet and healthy people. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Next, Sarah Nelson, the president of the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here among friends, and especially Senator Markey, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was the first representative in Congress to come to our office for a meeting rather than asking us to come up here. So it's wonderful to be here. 4 years ago, our union was asked, why were you the first, and why did you endorse the Green New Deal? And we said, we read it. These are the demands that are in every single union hall and every single place where working people need what they need in their lives. They need good jobs, they need health care, they need housing, they need transportation that is green and accessible. These are all of the issues that we hear all the time. And this is an economy that is built from the ground up. We know as labor leaders that in order to solve a problem, you have to define it first. And let me just say, as the president of the Association of Flight Attendants, the issues with climate change, the climate disaster that is coming is destroying our jobs right now, as our members' homes are destroyed in natural disasters, as airports are picked apart and we can't land planes or take off, as we need to recover our communities and bring them back. These solutions to climate change are what give us the opportunity to build up a new economy that is from the ground up, not from the top down. This understands that there has to be a just transition. There has to be a just transition, a real just transition, not something that we're telling the corporations you can put out a little bit of training and make things work for people. This is a plan that is worker-centered. And that's why it's going to work, because it resonates with more than 70% of the population. They want all of these things. And so that's the message here today, is that the Green New Deal is not just already making gains through the IRA and the infrastructure bill, but we're talking about how we make that actionable now and engage people right now. Americans crave solidarity, and we're giving them the tools to come together and build a new world together for the people, not the corporations. The last thing I'll just say is that those billionaires who are building rockets to go to Mars and leave the rest of us on the burning Earth are going to have to answer to us because of the demands that are set here today and what we're committed to do to make sure that we reach them. Thank you.
Beautiful. Wow. Great job. Next, Congressman Greg Casar.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Greg Casar, and I'm proud to represent the heart of Texas in the United States Congress. Texas has long been known as the energy capital of the world, and today we're going to announce the kind of work it takes to turn us into the renewable energy capital of the world. For too long, we've been asked the question, do you want a functional economy or do you want an inhabitable planet? And our answer very clearly is that people deserve both. People deserve both. And the alternative is unacceptable. I decided to run for Congress during the Great Texas Winter Storm, when millions of people were without power, millions of people without water, billions of dollars in damage had been done, hundreds of lives were being lost, and I was walking through the icy streets with my neighbors to deliver blankets to a gym where we were keeping seniors alive. And that's when I got the news that Governor Abbott had gone on Fox to talk about the storm, and he blamed the winter storm on the Green New Deal and windmills, when in fact it was caused by failing fossil fuel infrastructure. We don't need to freeze in Texas and burn and flood all at the same time. Instead, we can create millions of good union jobs, create more reliable, cleaner, and cheaper energy, and create an economy that works for all of us alongside an inhabitable planet. And so whether you are a senior or a school teacher, whether you're a flight attendant or a fossil fuel worker, the Green New Deal is for you. I am so grateful to Representative Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Markey, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and everybody for taking us so far, for achieving so much. And now we're ready to take it to the next level. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Colleen Chong, internal medicine resident and regional vice president of SEIU Healthcare Committee, interns and residents.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Colleen Chung, as he mentioned already, and I am part of SEIU, a regional vice president. As a doctor from Brooklyn, caring for patients in the community where I grew up, I see the impact, firsthand, devastating health impact of climate change. From treating increased rates of asthma and other respiratory illnesses due to the injury from climate disasters, providers like myself are at the front line of environmental damage. Let me make it very clear. Climate change is a public health emergency. And I want you to know that an unhealthy environment means unhealthy people and patients. The Green New Deal is for health, is a visionary plan, and not only reinforces the healthcare system to meet the needs of our community in which I serve, but also to create more just, sustainable society for us all, especially for those often hit the hardest by the impact of climate change, communities like mine and yours. This time is the correct time for action, and I'm proud to be a leader of CIR. We are the next generation of physicians, and we are committed to fighting for climate change and justice. Climate justice is healthcare justice. Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Doctor. Next, Congressman Jamal Bowman.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing? It is always a pleasure and honor to stand with my soldiers in this fight for a Green New Deal. I want to thank Representative Ro Khanna for your leadership on your legislation today. I want to thank Senator Markey for your leadership from 4 years ago and your continued leadership. And I especially want to thank my sister from New York City, from the Boogie Down Bronx, right next to me, Ocasio-Cortez, for your continued visionary leadership and common sense leadership. We are in the middle of a new American revolution, and that new American revolution is a Green New Deal. We are rebuilding the economy. We are rebuilding cities, and we are rebuilding our healthcare facilities and our public schools. So make sure you all come back, because in just a few weeks, we will be reintroducing our Green New Deal for public schools. Because imagine we finally deal with the issue of our crumbling school infrastructure by rebuilding them to be green beacons of energy for historically marginalized communities. Right. And imagine being in these schools where our curriculum is designed to create the next generation of design thinkers, scientists, artists, and innovators who will now become the next pipeline of employers and employees for a Green New Deal. That is what this is all about. And you can only get that from a beautiful coalition like you see up here. So I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to see this through. Now, let me tell you all something else. 2024 is coming. We have 20-something Senate seats up for grabs. We have the whole House up for grabs. We need everyone in every corner of this country to organize around a Green New Deal. Because we have underperforming states and underperforming counties. And we're going to go knock on doors in those states and those counties to get the right people in the office here so that we can not only have a Green New Deal, but common sense gun control legislation. Yeah. And before I leave, I just want to thank and give a shout out to SEIU, the Green New Deal Network, and all of the organizers in the audience today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We would not be here without you. But there's so much work to do, because we're not only going to save America, we're going to save the planet and humanity. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, Jamal. Jamel did a great job. In 2016, reporters didn't ask one question of Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump in the debates on climate change. But beginning in February of 2019, when Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and I introduced the Green New Deal, that problem got solved for 2020. And what we're doing right now is we're introducing the agenda for 2024 so that everyone knows what the questions are going to be. Next, we're going to hear from Jackie Patterson, Executive Director of the Chisholm Legacy Project and Climate Justice Alliance member.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the congressional leadership and all of my fellow folks on the front lines representing labor, the advocacy and activist community, and so forth. So I speak today on behalf of the Climate Justice Alliance, which brings together hundreds of frontline urban and rural organizations and communities and supporting networks in the United States, including Guam and Puerto Rico. As my organization, the Chisholm Legacy Project, is a member, I'm happy and honored to represent the often forgotten voices of those on the front lines of the climate crisis. Communities who have been most impacted by climate change in the fossil fuel industry, people who live in Cancer Alley, by whose neighborhoods are home to so many of the polluting industries, from garbage incinerators to industrial ports, from natural gas plants to meat rendering facilities, from power plants to sewage facilities. Ruinous contamination is forced on our neighborhoods on a daily basis. And people, we are the sacrifice zones in terms of our communities, and we have sacrificed people. Tamara from Kansas City, Kansas, Kendrick from Ocala, Florida, Tanya from Sand Branch, Texas, communities being wiped out by disasters. Speaking of Irontown in Louisiana, nations being impacted like Barbuda that didn't have anyone in their nation for the first time, living in their nation for the first time in its 300 years of existence. So we've had enough of these so-called solutions, and let's call them what they are, false solutions. It's time for real remedies that don't sacrifice our health and well-being. The IRA was a start, but unfortunately it also still includes those false solutions like hydrogen, carbon capture and sequestration, and other risky and unproven techno-fixes that only prolong our dependence on fossil fuels and only continue to line the profits of the wealthy few. So any Green New Deal must fix this. Otherwise, we're going to replicate last century's New Deal that was designed to benefit, again, those wealthy few while discarding Black and brown communities. That's why we're happy to support the reintroduction of the Green New Deal and other legislation that supports workers in a just transition to a green, clean, regenerative economy. So as we implement the IRA, as we implement the Green New Deal, we must make sure we're accountable to those hit first and worst by climate change. We can't continue to be a few in terms of frontline voices. All the frontline voices must be supported in their leadership. Communities are already creating sustainable solutions at work that leave no one behind, but implementation must be on our own terms, or we run the risk of a green gold rush that will once again hurt BIPOC communities. We know that people who are closest to the problem are most equipped to lead on the solutions, and it's time to center people who are most impacted now.
Beautiful. Great job. Next, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Next, Representative Maxwell Frost.
How's everybody doing? Well, I'm Maxwell Alejandro Frost, proud to be representing my hometown of Orlando, Florida. Yes, I am a Florida man. And that means a few things. Number one, it means I come from a state that is one of the frontline states when it comes down to the climate crisis. One of the most susceptible to rising seas, worsening storms, environmental disasters that end lives and destroy communities. And when we hear people talk about the Green New Deal not being realistic, I encourage them to look at what is realistic right now, what is real right now. Just a couple weeks ago, Orla Vista, community in my district, I went and knocked doors, going to visit homes of people with their families that are living in the sheds behind their homes because their homes are full of mold from Hurricane Ian, because of the storm surge, things we haven't seen in 100 years in our state. What's real is Fort Myers Beach that was completely decimated during Hurricane Ian because it was a storm we haven't seen in 100 years. And what we know is that the worst is yet to come when it comes to the climate crisis, and we can prevent it. That's the hope that we have. That's why alongside Reps. Khanna, Jayapal, and Lee, I'm proud to be putting forth legislation that will take our Green New Deal efforts to the next level by focusing on the fight for health, the Green New Deal for health. Like Senator Markey said, 9 in 10 Americans have been impacted by the climate disaster in the past decade, and 14 million Americans live in health deserts without adequate access to care. Environmental injustice impacts black folks, brown people, Latinos, Hispanics, low-income communities disproportionately. And working people are most likely to live in communities suffering from poor air quality and poor water quality, which impacts their physical and mental health. And those are the same people who won't have the money to figure out what to do as these disasters come. And so this legislation is the intersection of what young people in this country have been fighting for and crying out for: environmental justice, racial justice, economic justice, and health justice. Because there's a whole generation out there that's going to be directly impacted by this if we fail to act. The cost of not doing anything is far greater than the cost of taking bold action right now. And usually in this building, when we talk about costs, we talk about dollars and cents. But the real cost is human life, people, communities. And so we're here today to be their voice and work with them to build a livable future, and to build a world that it's more than a livable future, but it's about a thrivable planet where every person has the resources they need to be successful. And what did we do to deserve that? It's by virtue of being human. That's my politics, and that's why I support the Green New Deal. So glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Beautiful job. Beautiful job. Next, Congresswoman Summer Lee. Beautiful.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just start by saying it is so exciting to be here. I've waited to be here with so many of our climate, environmental justice movement organizers and activists and soldiers, and I'm so honored to be here from Pennsylvania, from Western Pennsylvania, from Braddock, PA, which I'm going to put on the map. But I just want to say that Braddock, PA is the home of steel. Western Pennsylvania is the playground of fossil fuels. But from there, we sent not just the first black woman to Congress from Pennsylvania, we also sent a Green New Deal politician there. So I'm telling you, if we can win there, then we can win everywhere. So I just wanted to bring that little bit of good news to you real quick. But listen, where I grew up in Braddock in the Mon Valley, our air quality is so dirty that we have some of the highest rates of asthma and COPD and emphysema and other respiratory illnesses in this country. I know firsthand that health justice is climate justice. And I'm fighting for a Green New Deal so that kids in my community can live. We're here today because the people came together to build this multiracial, multi-generational movement to right the wrongs of environmental racism and demand clean air and water, working power, and union jobs, lower costs, and a livable future for each and every one of us. We're here because the people knew damn well that in this country and for this country to be a place where everybody can thrive, we cannot let corporate polluters pump toxins into any more black and brown and poor communities on the backs of taxpayers. We can't let fossil fuel billionaires and the politicians they bankroll turn us against each other. We can't let them call us radical for organizing for the survival of our children and then blame us for the economic pain they inflict on us when they rake in their billions as our planet burns. We're here because the people joined together to fight for a Green New Deal and demanded that Democrats put climate at the top of our agenda, that we hold the line on no climate, no deal, and we won. The Green New Deal movement is powerful because it's intersectional. Climate justice, racial justice, economic justice, social justice, and health justice. Now we got to get to the finish line. For the 14 million Americans who live in health deserts, who are the same folks suffering from dirty air and water, the same folks providing care to others suffering from dirty air and water, the same folks who can't afford health care, and the same folks who can't take off work when they get sick. It's time for a Green New Deal for you, and we are here to fight for you, and we aren't going to finish until we get this one done. So happy to be with you all. I'm here to endorse a Green New Deal also. Hold up. Let me take my nice folder.
Great job. Next, we're going to hear from Congresswoman Shelley Pingree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and my good friend Senator Markey, and my good friend, both of my good friends here who have done such great work, who have been persevering, who were out there in the beginning, who did what nobody thought could be done and made us all so proud. And we're proud to be co-sponsors of the original resolution, and proud to be with you here today. Just a little bit personally, you know, we're coming right up on Earth Day here. I'm old enough, I don't think Marky is, but I'm old enough. I'm old enough to have been there for the first Earth Day. I was there back in the 1970s when we were talking about putting solar panels on the roof and when we were talking about resilient agriculture and sustainable agriculture. I studied it in college in the 70s, and I've been an organic farmer almost ever since then. So I am very excited to be at a moment in time when all of my colleagues are coming together, as they did during the ARA, and saying, we're going to get this job done, and where America is moving forward and demanding that we get this job done. And I'm just going to geek out on you a little bit on agriculture. So I focus on agriculture, renewable agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and on the importance of bringing our farmers into this conversation. Agriculture is about 10% of the climate impact in this country, maybe even more depending on how you measure it. But we can change that. We can change that by focusing on the soil health. We can sequester enough carbon in the soil to take all the carbon out of the atmosphere. If we did everything right around the world, we might not get that far. But by those practices that make sure we sequester the carbon in the soil, that preserve farming for small to medium-sized agriculture, to make sure we're not transporting our food all the way across the country every day, that we're supporting local and regional agriculture, small farms, disadvantaged farmers, women farmers. The people are really making change happen, making sure we eliminate food waste. About a third of the food is wasted in this country. At the very same time that people are going hungry every day. We can fix that system. These are big agribusiness systems that we know how to fix. We know how to do this. We did a lot in the ARA for conservation programs, for those very programs that help farmers to do the practices that they need, to put renewable energy on their own farm, to help support that we don't lose that farmland, because every farm that we lose today turns that over to development, to more carbon in the atmosphere, not sequestering more carbon. So we know what work to do, we need to do. We can do it in the appropriations bill this year as we've been doing it. We can do it in the farm bill because we're writing that this year, and with everybody's support. And we've gotten more support from members of Congress on and off the Agriculture Committee, more of them aware of these issues that we're dealing with, more of them aware that food is medicine and that making sure everybody has healthy diets, that we have the SNAP benefits that we need, that we have the healthy fresh fruits and vegetables. These are the fights we're going to be having this year, but everybody who cares about the Green New Deal, who cares about labor and working people, and everybody who's struggling today cares about these things. So I'm proud to be with all of you. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you everybody who's here.
Beautiful. Great job. Great job. Congressman Robert Garcia.
Thank you, everybody. I just want to say first I'm honored to stand here today with Senator Markey and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, and you've inspired particularly freshman members in this incredible work, and just thank you for your leadership and the history that we're all making here in Congress. In my home state of California, we've seen major weather events cause massive disasters. The climate emergency is here today, and we know that, as we've heard, our Black and brown communities especially need us to act on the Green New Deal. I want to, in the few weeks ahead, as we move forward, I'll be working to carry legislation that former Congressman Andy Levin started with Senator Elizabeth Warren on the Build Green Infrastructure and Jobs Act. It's a partnership that is really, really critical. It focuses on the electrification of transit, of buses, to ensure that we have an electric world, an electric country. And it'll be an honor to be the lead House author on that bill. This bill will also build on the Inflation Reduction Act and provide billions of dollars, of course, to decarbonize all surface transportation. And what's really important is there's an important link between public transit and creating dense communities. The only way we actually get to housing justice is to strengthen public transit and create denser communities across the country where people can live car-free, on bikes, walking, and really creating a community where everybody can thrive. And that is so critical in communities across America. Communities like mine in Long Beach and Southeast Los Angeles need the Green New Deal. We're happy to be here, honored to be a supporter, and we're all going to get to work. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great job. And Congresswoman Becca Balint.
Yeah, I heard somebody say, go Vermont. Yay, Vermont. I am a Vermonter. And I wanted to say, first off, how incredibly proud I am to stand with all of these partners. I never thought I would be here. And I think a lot of us in my incoming freshman class feel that way. We never thought we'd get here. And we're here, and we see all of you in this movement. It is not just a press conference. It's a movement. And so many powerful things have been said by all of the speakers who came before me. So I just want to give you a visualization, something to think about. How does climate change, how does a climate emergency show up in Vermont? Because when I came to the Hill, everybody still says the same thing. Vermont, it's so beautiful. I love Vermont. Vermont is like this magical kingdom. You know, let me tell you what climate change looks like in Vermont. We are hills and we are valleys. And every single time it rains in Vermont, people are flooded out. And they are often the people who are in our mobile home communities. They are people living on the margins, and their homes are being flooded out. Their lawns, their land is being swept downstream. And our agricultural economy is greatly impacted. It's not in the future. It's now. You talk to farmers across my state, they don't know how they're going to continue to provide the food for Vermonters that we rely on because their growing season is changing. The way that we do agriculture is not working long-term sustainably. So I want you to imagine that this movement is not just a movement of our very populated areas, which it is, but we need everyone on this. This is impacting rural communities in a terrible way. And so I am hoping to lift up that voice of rural America and let them know that they are going to benefit directly from the work that we're doing on the Green New Deal. So I'm very happy to be here and so glad we're all together in this movement.
Beautiful job. Thank you. So now, any questions? Any questions? Great. Thank you all so much. Thanks for being here. Robert.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you
You're an
for
inspiration.
coming. No,
Thank
of
you.
course, thank you. Thank you.
Right.